This episode brought to you by Peter Wood's Museum of the Impossible.
What's a Museum of the Impossible? It's gonna be like Harry Potter meets Ripley's Believe It or Not. It'll be a one-of-a-kind, themed, interactive space where people can experience the impossible. But I need your help. To get the project started, I've set up a Patreon over at museumoftheimpossible.com. If you're able to throw a few bucks my way each month, we can build it together. Thanks for your support, and I can't wait to welcome you into the Museum of the Impossible. Welcome to the podcast of the Impossible. I'm Peter Wood, and today I'm chatting with a true specialist. He's one of the go-to experts on performing restaurant magic in our area, and I'm delighted to pick the brain of the always awesome David French. Welcome. How's it going?
Good, Peter. What an introduction. Thank you so much.
I think it's fair to call you a specialist in restaurant magic, right?
I guess, that probably fits.
You've lectured on it for magicians, right?
Lectures, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, we have lots of different types of magicians and
Sure.
magic shows. So, yeah, that's always been my specialty. So we'll call it that.
I think it's fun for folks to know that is, our friend listening might not even realize that is an avenue. They might have, you're familiar with the stage magicians or maybe even someone walking around at a cocktail party, but the idea of someone in a restaurant might be one of a kind.
It's definitely something that people take. They're not sure what's happening when you come up to their table sometimes.
Okay.
We in the industry, we understand restaurant magicians. We've been around forever, but
sure.
The average person going to a restaurant, they don't expect to see a magician coming up.
Right.
So in that sense, it's something different, and you just work with it that way.
Do you find that they think you're either wanting money or part of the or a bad part of the restaurant? Like what are some of the common objections?
Well, I always approach my tables, and we can get into a whole different discussion how to approach a table. But I always ask how things are.
Okay.
First.
Okay. Cool.
So immediately they think I'm part of the staff.
Sure.
I'm either the manager or I'm some kind of the owner.
Okay.
And then once I get their feedback, then I'll tell them who I am.
Right.
And oftentimes they're embarrassed. Like, oh my God, I shouldn't have complained about the steak.
Oh, well,
Yeah, but I take that feedback back to the management anyway. But yeah, the primary, unless they know who I am, which a lot of people that come back to see me do.
Yep.
If it's something cold, I'm usually part of this, the manager or the owner.
Okay.
That's
Sure.
what they think, because I typically have a coat on or a dress up a little bit, so they think I'm part of the establishment more than I.
And you are. You're not a salaried, but you're regular enough. And like you say, you are a conduit to if the steak was undercooked, you can still fix it for them, right?
I don't go back in the kitchen. And
okay, yeah, sure, that's
I'll
true.
certainly relay that to the management, but
right.
Yeah. So it's just it's the way you approach it.
Right.
You
Okay.
approach the tables, and again, my approach is very friendly, very laid back. So
Sure,
I'm not
sure.
sure what to expect at first.
Right.
I've had people say I carry a little mat with me.
Okay.
Close-up mat in the industry.
Uh-huh.
And I use that everywhere. So I'm holding that, and a lot of people will mistake that for something I'm selling, like you said.
Yeah. Okay.
Who's this
sure.
guy? What's he selling? Why is he coming to me in a restaurant?
Right.
I can see their wheels turning.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've been doing it long enough that you can anticipate and try to socially engineer away those objections, because ultimately that what you have to share with them, they will probably enjoy. 95% of the tables that you go to, unless they're having a really heated breakup conversation,
Which I've run into before.
I'm sure you have.
I've actually run into a couple they're going through their divorce papers.
Oh my.
They
Okay.
run into card tricks.
Really? Why not? They don't want to lighten the mood at that? Yeah.
I tried. No, thank you.
Well, tell me, let's go back to I'm always curious everyone's origin story. So what's your what got you into it originally?
Well, we'll go way back.
Okay.
Like every magician, I got a magic kit for Christmas, got hooked.
Sure. Okay.
Through high school, I was a hobbyist and did a lot of, a few birthday parties here and there.
Okay.
It wasn't until I was actually in college, I'm going to date myself here, 1984, that I started doing restaurants.
Okay.
And I was literally in a restaurant with a friend of mine. It was a bar. I was doing some card tricks for him, and some of the wait staff would watch. Mm-hmm. And my buddy said, hey, you should try this. in a restaurant. I heard about it before.
Okay.
I mean, being, a magician and reading about it, I knew this was out there, but I never really thought too much about doing it. And then I said, yeah, this might be a neat idea to try. So back in those days, we had typewriters.
Okay.
There was no internet.
Okay.
And I looked in the phone book. We had those too.
Yeah, sure.
And I just looked at restaurants in my area.
Okay.
And I wrote down the addresses, and I typed up a letter.
Okay.
It just wrote, very simple. Here's who I am. This is what I can offer you. This is how it benefits your restaurant. That kind of thing.
Okay.
And I sent out 50 of them. I don't remember.
Right.
And a couple weeks later, I got a call from one of them.
Okay.
And they said, this is an interesting concept. We'd like you to come in. And it was a Tuesday night. I remember it very well. Went in, did a couple of tricks for the folks, and the manager hired me on the spot.
Wow. Okay.
And I was there Tuesday nights for maybe a year.
Okay.
And I won't go through the whole history, but from there, it just kind of took off, and I've been doing it ever since. So
Okay.
40 years in April.
Nice.
40
Okay.
years. Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, and what made you, I mean, even at that young age, realizing that you needed to pass along the benefit to the restaurant? Like, were you into any business or marketing or sales type stuff? Like, what do you know what sort of sparked that? Or
Well, I studied marketing in college. That was my major.
Well, that helps.
Business administrative marketing. And
Okay.
I don't really remember.
Okay, no, I'm
just
just curious.
Yes, it probably just made sense.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And it's just funny, just a side note of that very first show, if I could.
Sure.
This is funny. I thought it was funny.
I'll be the judge.
Please. Anybody. I walked in the first night, and I had studied all the 80s magicians, all of the Kaufmans, and all of the guys that said you have to be seated at a table with your audience in front of you.
Right.
You do close-up magic.
Right.
And so I did. I set up a table. I had my mat, and I was waiting, and nobody would come over.
Oh.
Nobody's coming to my table.
I see.
What's going on here? This is not how it's supposed to work. So I got educated quickly how to table hop.
Right.
I didn't
Okay.
think about actually going table to table. I just thought I'd
Interesting.
work in a restaurant. They'd come to me, and I could do all of my fancy stuff.
Right.
Well, it was funny. So I learned that lesson the hard way. So that went away in the first 20 minutes.
Sure. Sure.
Table hopped in. So realizing, and I even do that at parties today. If I set up a stationary position and nobody's coming, well, you got to go to them.
Right.
That's a different story.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I just figured, why would a restaurant want a magician? So I put a few benefits in there.
That's good.
And it seemed to work. I mean, I got 1 out of 50
That
called me. So.
That's pretty good. I mean, that's, especially with no bona fides or no, you didn't have a long list of corporate clients or whatever that you could tout at that point. You're just
Just this country boy trying to get.
Yeah. Was that around here or was it?
It was in Columbia.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
I don't know what they call it now. It was Hobbit's Glen, which was it's a golf course.
Yeah,
I
I've
think
heard
the
of
name
it.
has changed.
Okay.
And it was actually the little restaurant at the 18th hole that hired me.
Okay.
And it was a great gig. Two
Okay.
nights I'd go in and do my thing and learned a lot, had a lot of fun with that.
That's cool. And then when you sort of expanded from there, did you reach out to other restaurants proactively again, or did it sort of?
Good question. Actually, no. What happened is from that restaurant, someone that worked at the Hilton in Columbia saw me, was there on a Tuesday night, said, this is a great idea for our brunch.
Awesome.
So they brought me into the Hilton.
Okay.
So I did both of those for a little while. And then from the Hilton, it happened again.
Okay.
There was a brunch manager or a hospitality, or I forget, food and beverage manager.
Right. Okay.
From the Hyatt in Baltimore that was at the Hilton. So
Okay.
this would be great for our restaurant.
Nice.
You come into the Hyatt.
Nice.
So I did that for a while. And then after that, I did solicit a few others.
Okay.
But this was getting into the computer age and I was doing more cold calling at that point.
Okay. Okay.
And then what really sprung this whole thing is when I moved, I used to live in Howard County here in Maryland. And then I moved to Carroll County. So I kind of had to start over with my bases. I didn't want to come back to Howard. And the brunches were kind of getting, I won't say they're getting old, but I had done them.
Right.
I wanted to do something else. So I really like the evening performances better just simply because there's a different mindset in the evening.
Okay. Sure.
In any event, when I got to Carroll County, I started old-fashioned cold calling, literally just knocking on doors. And a couple people were interested, and one of them I've been there for 26 years.
Wow. Which one is that?
Liberatories.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then and then I moved over, and I just solicited a few others. There's E.W. Beck's in Sykesville.
Right.
I've been there for many, many years as well. And so I just kept doing those.
Okay.
And what I ended up actually doing as of late if I need a new restaurant, I've been following the wait staff. This is all in my lecture too.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There's a little plug.
Sure.
I have to do this. But I would follow the wait staff, meaning if one of the wait staff would become a manager
Mm-hmm.
and go somewhere else, I'd call.
Right.
You remember me? How about your restaurant?
Sure. Okay.
And that's worked very well,
Nice.
especially in the small community that I worked.
Right.
There's a Sykesville station which was run by a guy that hired me at another place.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he moved over there. He said, "Dave, would you like to come here?" He recently came down here close to where we are now in Glenelg.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And so he's got me in there, 10 Oaks Tavern.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So the point is, just following the guys around,
Right.
keeping your
right.
network. It's all networking.
Sure.
Um,
That makes sense.
you know, and it's nice because I'm at the age now. A lot of these guys were teenagers when I started. And
Right.
They were waiters or they were bus boys, and now they're managers, and some of them are owners of restaurants.
Right.
So I've just followed them around. That kind of kept my career going for the.
You're taking advantage of the turnover in the hospitality business,
Yeah,
or hopefully grow, moving
in
up the
essence,
ranks.
Yeah. So, I think that's the best way to, if you're into any kind of sales, and this,
Sure.
think about it. This is sales. You have to sell yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your references and your referrals, and it's easier to keep a client than to gain one.
Yep.
So that's always been my motto, and it's worked fairly well for me.
Yeah. Well, I know. I mean, just from seeing some of the things that you post and share, it is not uncommon for you to have a client of 15, 20, 25 years. I mean, you definitely, it's all about getting the sale, but then also don't botch it once you're there. I mean, do a good job, do a consistently good job.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You have to do a good job, otherwise they're not going to keep you.
Sure.
And that's any business or any job. But more importantly, and again, I talk about this in my lecture.
All right.
For me, it's all about relationships.
Sure.
I mean, I've known
Yeah.
these guys for years. I know their families.
Yeah.
Some of their kids went to school with my kids.
Right.
So you kind of have that, and even if you do botch it a little bit, they give you a little bit of a break.
Oh,
we know
yeah.
Dave, he's been here forever, whatever.
Sure.
He's had a bad
Sure.
day, whatever. So the relationships that are solid
Right.
are the ones, and thank goodness the restaurants themselves are doing well.
Yeah.
Because you go into a restaurant and they'll close tomorrow. I've had that happen.
Yeah.
I
I'm
literally
sure.
have gone up to one of my places and the door's shut.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
didn't tell anybody. They didn't tell me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the point is,
Uh.
some of these places that have been open for a long time obviously know what they're doing.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's a good formula.
No, we when I was doing the Willard and Wood show with our friend Willard and Joel DeWire, every restaurant that we would go to after our shows, all of them are now shut down. And I mean, we're talking like 5 different restaurants that we would go all around Columbia and Baltimore. And so, I mean, we sort of take full credit for it, as if you really want your restaurant to fail. And we were doing shows at Food Plenty here in Howard County. And they shortly after, I mean, that was COVID related, of course, But if anyone out there has a restaurant that you want your rival restaurant to shut down, just have me and my friends come dine there, once a month, Saturday nights, and eventually it goes out of business.
Do me a favor, stay away from mine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm not inviting you into this.
Oh, I had a funny. So you were at a restaurant in Frederick, and friends of mine were there, and I guess said like, "Oh, do you know Peter Wood?"
That's right.
But then they talked to me later as though it was like a turf war thing. Like, do you know that this guy is doing magic in Frederick? I'm like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, like we're and it's funny, like that'll happen with the Spy Museum too, where somebody will work at the Spy Museum doing some corporate gig, and they're like, hey, I know you do a lot of shows at the Spy Museum. Like there's first of all, we're all friends, and second of all, like nobody has any exclusivity anywhere,
That's a good point, Peter. I mean, I think there's enough work to go around for everyone.
Totally. Yeah.
I years ago, I'll be honest with you. Years ago, there was a little bit of a territorial part.
Okay.
I won't name names, but there was a gentleman that was trying to undercut me on a couple of my restaurants, and it irritated me.
Sure.
I'll be honest with you, but at the same time, I don't own the place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's free. It's free competition.
Yeah.
But the point being, it doesn't bother me anymore.
Right.
If somebody comes in and they undercut me and the restaurant hires them, well, then I'm not doing a good job. It's on me. That's
right.
on me.
And also the restaurant's relationship with you is that flimsy. I mean, I would imagine that in most cases, if somebody came to the restaurant and said, hey, I'll do magic, but I'll do it for less money, they'll be like, well, yeah, but we have a loyalty to this. David's been coming here for 20 years.
That's exactly right.
Right.
And that's where that relationship is.
Sure.
But the other thing too, funny you mentioned, is a lot of these venues, like you said, the Spy Museum or wherever, even if you have another magician in the restaurants that I work, which I fortunately haven't, I've never double tag team with anyone.
Oh yeah.
But they have bands, they have acoustic players, they have all kind of different things. So, to your point, who am I to lay claim on this place?
Right.
As long as they're hiring me and I'm coming in and everybody's happy with my piece, I'm happy with that. But there are some guys out there that, it may be a little bit unethical. I don't know how you feel about it, but I would never go into some place to undercut them if I knew someone was there.
Right.
I did have recently a situation where I actually solicited a restaurant. I did not know they had a magician. They actually did. I didn't know this. I really didn't. Sure. They told me about him, and they said, "But what do you do? What is your price?" I said, "No." I'm talking to you.
Right.
I appreciate you wanting to move forward with this or just talk, but no, I'm not going to do that to anybody.
Right.
So it's just me. But
yeah, no, it makes sense.
There's a lot of work out there for everybody, Peter.
Agreed.
Find it.
Well, especially plenty of restaurants. I mean, there are more restaurants than there are, magic theaters.
True. So, that's a good point. When I say that, more work, my specialty, as we call it.
Yeah,
absolutely. There's just a lot.
Well, and how often are you, do you fall in love with a routine and then realize it's just not going to work in the restaurant atmosphere? Like, how often does that happen to you?
It's funny. It's a great question. It goes back, and it actually goes two ways. There are things that I think are never going to fly, and they do.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh man, I don't really want to do this, but they like it. So.
Sure. Yeah.
But the point is, I think it's with anything, magic, music, whatever it is. If you have a passion for it, it shows.
Right. Sure.
And that conveys.
Yeah.
So the things that I do, I really enjoy.
Okay.
I love everything that I do. There are hopeful things that I just dread. I don't dread any of it.
Good.
I love doing the material that I do. There have been, absolutely, to your point, things that just didn't go well.
Okay.
And you work on it, you tweak it, you work on it, and that's the nice thing about restaurants is you continually can do that.
Totally. Yeah.
I don't use the restaurants as a practice forum.
Sure.
I do that at home. All the mechanics are down, but as far as getting the timing and the blocking and all that, that's where you're going to do it in front of people.
Right.
But yeah, there have been some things that I just had to drop that I liked.
Right.
That just didn't work.
Yeah. or just not. Even if, it might be fine in a formal close-up show or a stand-up set, but it's just not going to work for the restaurant.
Precisely. I was just going to suggest that. In a restaurant, there's a lot of challenges. You've got noise, you've got interruptions. You're in the trenches. And each venue is different, too. There are some that are louder, some are more, they pace things a little bit better.
Yeah. So
the point is, yes, you're not going to do your theatrical pieces in a restaurant.
Right.
You're not going to do your real storytelling. People don't have the time for it or the attention span, and you're going to get interrupted most likely.
Right. Yeah.
So you got to kind of, and again, depending on the venue, some of them are very fast paced. People come in for a meal, they want to leave.
Right.
Others are, they come in to dine. They come in for an event. They come in for an evening, and those are the ones you can really sit down, and I do.
Yeah.
Do a show.
Nice.
So yeah, they're all different, but you have to kind of play that within the venue and play that with what works logistically.
Sure. Well, yeah, and so when you're thinking about hopping from I would imagine, again, like you say, every restaurant is going to be different. How much do you think of yourself as sort of an extension of the hospitality, or particularly the servers? Like, I know that one of the things that a restaurant magician, a problem that a restaurant magician will solve, is that waiting time between we've ordered the food and now here's the food. Are you looking for sort of timing cues from the servers, or do you like sort of what's going through your mind when especially when you finish up with a group and are trying to decide where to go next? What are some of the things you're kind of looking for, or the indicators?
Really good question. And over time, it just becomes instinctual.
Okay.
I just know.
Right.
And I don't mean that to sound egotistical. I just have a feeling,
Sure.
I think this is good.
Yeah.
Point is, back to your first question about hospitality.
Right.
I don't know if I mentioned this. I have a lecture.
Yeah. Well, eventually, I'm just going to have you tell all the information in your lecture on this.
Oh, right here. $10 a copy.
Exactly. That's the plan.
Yeah, but hospitality, that's what it's all about.
Mhm.
You are absolutely an extension of the restaurant. You're not there just to do card tricks.
Right.
A lot of magicians think it's all about me. No. It's about the restaurant. It's about the guest experience.
Right.
So, for example, if a waiter drops a fork, I'll pick it up.
Sure.
I'll open doors for waitresses. I do all of that to help them.
Sure.
Now, I don't run drinks,
Okay.
but if somebody needs a water, I'll go grab somebody immediately.
Okay.
Table 6.
Sure. Nice.
So it's all about that. That's why when I approach a table, I say, how's everyone? 'Cause
Right.
I want to know what they're feeling.
Sure.
If they're worried about they need another drink and I want to do a card trick, well, they're not here with me.
Right.
I'm
True.
going to make sure
That's
they're
fair.
set up, but that's a different topic.
Sure.
So to your point, I just get a sense for a table. I mean, I always look, and I never, ever interrupt while they're eating.
Okay.
Cardinal
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just rude.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
And then the other thing is if they're just ordered,
Mhm.
the waitress is just taking their menus,
Mhm.
prime, perfect.
Right.
Unless they're looking intently in each other's eyes
Yeah. Sure.
or they're going through their divorce papers.
right. Sure.
And sometimes
Yeah.
you just don't know.
Yeah.
You have to
yeah.
ask. That's another thing. When I approach a table, I always ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell them who I am. It costs nothing. I have this whole spiel approach very quick.
Sure.
And I tell them, is it okay to perform? And if they say no,
Yeah. Yeah.
no problem. I don't force it.
Yeah.
You never know where they're coming from.
Agreed.
They're coming from a funeral. Believe it or not, there are people that don't like magic, Peter.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
don't.
I hear that.
So you have to respect that.
Yeah.
But, it's all about, I don't take cues from the waiters. Sometimes they'll grab me, say, table in the corner,
Right.
we're backed up. Can you help me here?
Sure. Yeah. Cool.
That happens often. Not often, but it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is one way you can help a restaurant with the wait area.
Right.
When they're waiting, or if there's a wait line. There are lots of different
Yeah.
advantages to having a magician, which, again, is in my lecture.
No, and I think, I hadn't even thought about waiting, but sure. Yeah. People who, if there's an hour wait, but there's someone there to entertain them in the front area, that means that they won't give their business elsewhere. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And again, if you're a team player,
Yeah.
which you really need to be in this industry, you'll recognize that.
Right.
I've gone
right.
up to the managers and said, hey, manager, you've got a big wait out here.
Yeah.
Why don't I go do that, work that area for a little while? I'll get back to the tables later.
Sure.
And they appreciate that.
Yeah,
You're thinking
yeah,
about
sure.
their business.
Yep.
You're not just thinking about your sponge ball routine.
Right. Right.
So they do appreciate that you're thinking about their business.
Right. Right. Well, do you have some sort of mechanism in place if there are people who came to the restaurant to see you,
Mhm.
or they maybe not specific, they don't know your name, but they heard that there's going to be a magician there that night? How do you make sure that you catch them at some point? Is that normally they say that to the server and the server gets the message to you, or?
Typically, that's the way.
Okay,
Or the
okay.
manager say, we have a reservation of 4 people. They're over
Yeah.
here. They came to see you specifically.
Gotcha. Okay.
Perfect. Now I know.
Yeah.
Or sometimes the guests will just tell me, we came
Okay.
to see you, Dave.
Good.
Fortunately, again, in the restaurants I work at, some of them I've been there for a long time.
Right.
So I recognize a lot of the locals, if you will.
Yeah,
the
sure.
repeat customers. And a lot of them will come, hey, what do you got for me tonight, Dave?
Nice.
Show me
nice.
something
Okay.
new. And that's fun too. But the point to you that you're making, yeah, I if I know they're coming,
Mhm.
oftentimes I'll get a message through Facebook or whatnot. Hey, we're
Oh,
coming to
good.
see you
That helps.
Thursday.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll come into the restaurant. I'll look at the book and say, okay, I see Peter Wood for
Right.
7:00. I'll be on the lookout for you,
Nice.
I'll see you.
Gotcha. Okay.
and I make sure that I visit you, not
Right.
just visit, but I try to want to spend a little more time with people that come to see me,
Yeah. That's
because
nice.
in a restaurant, you come, you're limited time, you're busy, you get your meal, then you leave.
Yeah.
There's only so much a magician can do during that time.
Yeah.
You don't want to hold the table up either.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So that's
yeah.
all part of the business. So,
Yep.
if somebody comes to see me, I go way out of the way to really make sure that they have a good time.
Sure.
I get some extra time with them if I can.
No, that's cool. Yeah. Well, and as long as, it sounds like normally that gets communicated to you somehow, whether it's in advance or at
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, it's funny though. I have had folks come in that have come to see the magician,
Uh-huh.
Dave or whomever, and I don't even know about it.
Sure.
Never said anything.
Right. Right.
And in their defense, I don't know that they know to tell anyone.
Right.
Because if you think about it, like we talked about before, this is a strange concept, a magician at a restaurant.
Right.
If you think about it, we think it's normal.
Yeah, yeah.
But the average person doesn't. So they'll come into a restaurant. Yeah, I came to see this guy.
Right. Where is he?
What do I? Yeah, where is he? What do I do? Do I flag him down? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think that's happened too often, but it has happened. I remember hearing, this couple came to see you and you just didn't stop by. I feel horrible. I didn't know they were going to see me, and I got busy in the back room or whatnot, and then they left.
Yep.
You don't know. So if anybody does tell me they're coming Friday night, I say, make sure you tell the manager you came to see me.
Nice.
So that I know.
Right.
I know you're coming. But it's also a little marketing plug. Make sure the manager knows.
Right.
We're bringing somebody in.
Yep. Yeah.
So
specifically for you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I guess because that is what's interesting with magic compared to like music. All right. From 7 to 9, there's going to be a guitar player at such and such a restaurant. Oh, cool. We should go, but then you can pretty much sit wherever during that 2-hour span and listen to them doing their art, but you don't have to let them know that you came just for them. But because you're moving from table to table, and again, if it's a big enough place where they don't even see where you are to be able to flag you down, then hopefully they've done their homework a little bit.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So I try to make sure I know they're coming.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Well, if folks want to see you at a restaurant, I'm going to do a transition here. You normally post on Facebook, and that is, again, for local folks, I'll say DMV just in a larger sense, but typically it's, Central Maryland ish, right? Howard, Frederick County,
West Virginia once in a while.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So if you look for David French on Facebook, that is the best place to see that. All those posts are public on there. This has been great. Thank you so much. I had a good chat. We'll do it again, I'm sure.
Thank you, Peter.
But yeah, thanks for coming here. And that is going to do it for this episode of the podcast of the Impossible. But for behind the scenes access to my Museum of the Impossible project, as well as info about my public shows, private events, social media, and more, you can head on over to peterwood.com. I'm Peter Wood. Thanks.